In 2017, a groundbreaking study from Boston University revealed that 92% of former NFL players' studies show signs of CTE. That means nearly every professional player who donated their brain to science had evidence of degenerated brain disease. As someone who has studied the history of football and the dangers associated with head injuries, I'll come across powerful research and solutions being developed to protect athletes. Today, I'll explain how CTE was discovered and how innovations in helmets technology are being developed to better protect the brain. First, I'll describe how CTE was identified and researched in football. Then, I'll explain how engineers are using science to design new helmets that aim to reduce risk of long-term brain injuries. The story of CTE began long before football. It was first identified in 1928 in a boxer who were said to be punching drunk. Doctors noticed that symptoms like confusion, poor balance, and memory loss. Over time, this condition came to be CTE. Fast forward to 2002, when forensics pathologist Dr. Bennett Omalu performed an autopsy on Mike Webster, a Hall of Fame center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Omalu found usual proteins build up in Mike Webster's brain, called tau proteins, which are associated with brain degeneration in 2005. Omalu published his findings in Neurosurgery, and this was the first time the disease was linked directly to a professional football. As Omalu later said, if you don't stand for the truth, you can't save lives. His work was controversial but opened the door to decades of research. Since then, evidence has only grown, and one of the largest studies Boston University found CTE in 345 out of 376 former NFL players. A staggering statistic. What's most troubling is that concussions did not cause CTE. Instead, it was the repetitive, smaller hits to the head called subconcussional impacts that accumulated over time. The effects are devastating: memory loss, mood swings, depression, and a severe case of dementia. Symptoms often don't appear until years later after the player has already retired, making every detection extremely difficult. Now that we are understanding how CTE was discovered and the science behind it, let's look at how football has turned to engineering and helmet design as a part of a solution. Innovations and changes. For decades, football helmets were designed to prevent skull fractures, not concussions. As the journalist Jeffrey Kolger often said, football helmets, which do a fine job of protecting against skull fractures, but do little to prevent concussions. This had led engineers and scientists to rethink the helmet entirely. One major problem is the rotating force. When a player's head twists suddenly on impact, the brain rotates inside the skull, causing shear damage. Traditional helmets do little to stop this. At UC Berkeley, engineers designed a helmet that had an outer shell that can rotate slightly on impact, absorbing some of the twisted motion. Early tests showed that could reduce dangerous rotational acceleration when playing the deadly sport, football. Other research are experimenting a liquid shock absorber system. A 2019 study in journal ARXIV showed that padding infused with special fluids could reduce strain on the brain by 27%. Another design using hydrophobic porous materials, which allows fluids to move during an impact, spreading out the force and lowering the peak of acceleration on the skull. These advances represents a major leap forward, but they also face challenges. Helmets must pass safety certifications, be comfortable enough for players to be able to wear, and be able to afford for schools and smaller leagues, not just for professionals. It's also important to remember helmets can lower risk, but they cannot eliminate entirely. That's why researchers emphasize pairing new designs with rule changes, medical monitoring, and education to make football safer overall. So while helmets are improving, they are just one piece of the puzzle against CTE. Today, I have shared how CTE was discovered through the groundbreaking work of Dr. Bennett Omalu and later studies, and how new helmets are being designed to reduce the risk of brain injury. Understand both history of CTE and innovations in the helmet designs show us that football future can be safer if science and sports work together. Think back to Boston University. 92% of former NFL players showed signs of CTE. That number represents the lives forever changed. But think to medical research, and the new next generation of athletes will step onto the field with a stronger protection and a brighter future.